Good morning and welcome to the Ocean Storytelling Workshop. We are so excited to have you joining us today, and happy World Oceans Day. My name is Anna Blanco and I'm the Executive Director of the International Ocean Film Festival, and I am thrilled that you are joining us today. We are excited to have you. We have lots of people online watching. There's so much happening out there in the world right now for World Ocean Day, and we feel very lucky to have you join us today for our presentation. So I'm going to do a little introduction and wanted to just start out with saying, why do we celebrate World Ocean Day? World Ocean Day was created at the United Nations Environmental Conference in Brazil. And at that meeting, they decided that we should have a designated day to celebrate World Ocean Day. So it's really a worldwide movement to mobilize people, to get them excited about telling stories about the ocean, to take action to protect our oceans, and basically raise awareness about everything that affects our ocean and how we as humans engage with our ocean. To quote Dr. Sylvia Earle, there is no water. If there is no water, there is no life. If there's no blue, there's no green. Our oceans are essentially the lungs of our planet. So it's important to us and to future generations that we take care of it and that we protect it. So that is why we are here today. And for us at the International Ocean Film Festival, the way we participate in World Ocean Day and throughout the year is by using films to tell stories. And that's why you're here today. So you're in for a great show. And we are excited to see the films that you're going to produce. A little bit about the International Ocean Film Festival. We're celebrating our 18th anniversary. And we are the largest ocean film festival around the world. Our mission is to protect, restore, and balance the ocean's biodiversity through independent film. And then we do that by being a year-round ocean advocacy organization. We have a marquee event every year in San Francisco where we are based, in which we get about 5,000 people to come see films from filmmakers around the world. We also have partners around the world that are showing films in Germany and South Korea and in Spain. And what I like to always highlight is the fact that we are a volunteer-driven organization. So a big shout out to any of our volunteers that are joining us today. Thank you so much for everything you do throughout the year and for making the film festival possible. This past year during the global pandemic, it was a little challenging, it was a little difficult, but we were able to showcase 8 different presentations throughout the 12 months of the pandemic. We reached over 35,000 audience members, and we're excited about that. We have a new audience in more than 30 countries around the world. So the power of film is extremely accessible. It tells a great story, and the ocean needs a voice. So we're excited to be able to provide a platform for films, and excited that you could join us today. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to my friend and my colleague who represents MARE, Miss Natasha Benjamin.
Welcome. Thank you, Anna. Pleasure to be here. Very excited. My name is Natasha Benjamin, and I'm the Policy and Outreach Director with Marine Applied Research and Exploration. And we are thrilled to be partnering with the International Ocean Film Festival today, this very special World Oceans Day, to conduct our first ever ocean storytelling workshop. I am a marine scientist and have been working in ocean conservation for over 20 years. And I work with Marine Applied Research and Exploration, and we use robotic technology to understand our oceans. We capture video imagery that we turn into data to inform and so we can manage our oceans. Very excited to be partnering today and dive into ocean storytelling, some great ocean films, and also hear from our local marine sanctuaries, and then tell you a little bit about the challenge that we have for all of you today to make your own film. So stick around for the next hour and a quarter, And I'm going to kick it back to Anna to introduce our first film that we'll be showing today. And then I'll come back on in a little bit to tell you more.
Thank you, Natasha. And I'd like to also point out that Natasha is also a filmmaker in her own right. She had a film in the festival last year entitled WOD Sea Cucumbers. So I'd also like to start by showing you a film. We thought we would just give you a wonderful film that was screened in 2020. And it had its West Coast premiere here in the International Ocean Film Festival. The title of the film is Only One World Left. The filmmaker is Alican Abaji. He's a Turkish filmmaker. And what I like about this film and why we selected to share it with you today is simply that it's a 3-minute film. And it's just a testament to the fact that films don't have to be long to have a very good message. And behind the scenes, Alican shared with us when he came to San Francisco that this film was done in 1 day. And he also shared with us that the woman who's in the film was not the intended cast member originally. They hit a hiccup, which filmmakers often do, and they are resilient and they find other means to fulfill their film, to complete their films. And so this woman was a stand-in. The film we're seeing is Only One World Left. So let's let it roll.
Wow, I think that was a great way to start our World Ocean Day Ocean Storytelling Workshop. That was beautiful and inspiring and moving. And that's what we hope to do today, is inspire all of you with ocean imagery and storytelling to help protect and bring awareness to our blue planet. So moving right along, I am thrilled to introduce two people from our local national marine sanctuaries. We've got Jenny Stock and Justin Hall from Greater Farallones and Cordell Bank National Marine Sanctuaries right here in our backyard off the coast of the Bay Area here in California. For those of you who are not in California, I've known Jenny for almost 20 years and very excited to be circling back and working together again. And I'm going to let Jenny and Justin take us on a deep dive into our national marine sanctuaries. Thank you, guys.
Hi, everybody. We're Happy World Ocean Day. Thank you so much for coming online today to be with us and the film festival and MARE. My name is Jennifer Stock, and I am with the Cordell Bank National Marine Sanctuary, and I'm with Justin Hall from the Greater Farallones National Marine Sanctuary. And we are in the San Francisco Bay Area. We work for these two federally protected, marine protected areas, part of the National Marine Sanctuary System. And we wanted to give you a little insight into how storytelling and community awareness led to the protection of these very special places that we're going to share with you today. And I'll leave you with a little bit of the pieces that we do in the work that we do that can lead to storytelling and help inspire you in your future storytelling endeavors. So I'd like to move forward. Looks like my slides are up now. Great. All right.
Great. Well, we just want to tell you real quick a little bit about us and who we are. My name's Justin Hull. I'm the Visitor Center Manager and an Education Specialist for Greater Farallones National Marine Sanctuary, coming at you today from San Francisco.
And I'm Jenny Stock. I'm the Education and Outreach Coordinator for Cordell Bank National Marine Sanctuary. And I am based up in Sonoma County right now from my home.
Great. And a little bit about our National Marine Sanctuary System. There are 14 National Marine Sanctuaries and 2 national monuments that make up this system of ocean places, and a few in the Great Lakes as well. And they're just really special places. They have some of the most diverse habitats, most abundant wildlife in the entire world. And they're kind of a little bit like our national parks for the ocean. And we're going to zoom in on this map a little bit to where our national marine sanctuaries are. You can see Olympic Coast, which is off of Washington State on the west coast here of the US. And then we have 4 national marine sanctuaries along California. We're so lucky. We have Greater Farallones, Cordell Bank, and Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuaries, all together off the central California coast. And then the Channel Islands further to the south. So these 5 national marine sanctuaries are part of our West Coast region. And what's amazing is this whole system, it just has that abundance and diversity, kind of from Alaska stretching all the way down to Baja. And we're going to be talking a little bit today about our national marine sanctuaries right off the coast and some of the exploration and amazing habitats and wildlife that we have there.
So getting a little closer here to right outside San Francisco Bay, we have Greater Farallones and Cordell Bank National Marine Sanctuaries. And I like to show this image because it shows you a little bit about the land and a little bit about what's under the water, the continental shelf and the deep waters that go on beyond that. And those all contribute to making this one of the most dynamic ecosystems on the West Coast with so much life. So I want to tell you a little bit about what makes these places really special.
Yeah, and Greater Farallones is pretty well known for our white shark population. There's been a lot of filming and interest and studies, a lot of research around our white shark population, especially around the Farallon Islands, which are about 26 miles west of San Francisco. It's also a destination feeding area that Jenny's going to talk a little bit more about later for our endangered and threatened humpback whales and blue whales. And a lot of people don't know this about right off California, but we have some of the biggest populations of seabird colonies. That's a group of common murres there altogether, those white-chested birds with the dark brown heads. And there are not hundreds, not thousands, but hundreds of thousands of common murres off our coast. So amazing seabird life as well.
And for Cordell Bank National Marine Sanctuary, which is totally offshore, we have some amazing seafloor features that are just incredibly vibrant with life. That top image there shows you this colorful rocky reef, and this is cold water here. But this rocky reef covered with invertebrate life attracts lots of fish, so it's an incredible haven for a lot of rockfish. And then further down deeper, we've been down into some of the deeper depths. Throughout the sanctuary, we've seen some deep sea coral communities. And these are features that are shared up and down the entire West Coast, but we have been able to focus on them here at Cordell Bank through some of the exploration we've done. And throughout Greater Farallons and Cordell Bank and Monterey Bay to the south of us, this region, this water is so full of life that those seabirds breed here because the food's right there for them to eat. But it also attracts birds from super far away to come eat here because there's so much food in the water, like this shearwater right here. So this area has so much diversity of life, and we wanted to give you a little oceanography lesson as to why today. We have a system called the California Current Large Marine Ecosystem along the entire West Coast. And what that does is we have some distinct oceanographic seasons, and right now we are in the very productive time of year called upwelling, where the winds blow and the surface waters get pushed offshore, and deep, cold, nutrient-rich water comes up to the surface. It's what creates the cooler fog on the coast and the cooling temperatures, but it also provides all the nourishment for the smallest parts of the food web, the plankton, the phytoplankton, and zooplankton, and the whole food web takes off as a result of this upwelling process. And if we're lucky today, we may get to see some of this live from Justin's microscope. Justin has pulled a plankton sample to show you what we might be seeing in the waters right now that really nourishes this whole food web.
All right, so live from San Francisco, this is a live plankton sample. Let's take a look and see. Oh, wow, already we've got a beautiful group of diatoms right here. And this is the phytoplankton, or the plant-like plankton, those circles, those golden circles, and that oval. And we get more than half the oxygen on our planet from this phytoplankton. Some people are estimating higher than 70, maybe even 80% of our oxygen on our planet coming from, like these chain diatoms, these ones that kind of look furry and hairy. And there's a lot of stuff mixed in here with the plankton, but I just wanted to give you guys a quick peek at what's in the ocean this morning. We also have some pretty amazing zooplankton, the ones that zip around a little more. Let's see if we can share any of those with you guys. Let's see. Oh, there goes one. They're cruising around. I was seeing some barnacles, maybe some worms. Oh, sometimes it's a worm party. Hold on here. Okay, we've got a little, looks like a little copepod. Wow. So a little life. There's a nice copepod with its two long antennae and a single eye. Cool. They're kind of showing off for you guys today. I don't know if they know if it's World Ocean Day. I think they think every day is World Ocean Day. A couple more polychaete worms. So some of the larval forms of things are in our zooplankton. And then as a little finale here, I thought I would share with you guys what some crab eggs look like. These are protoplankton. These are just getting ready to hatch. And when they hatch out, then they're going to be drifting around without their tens of thousands of brothers and sisters, just all by themselves as little drifting plankton. And those things that look like two little beady eyes, those are their eyes. And they're starting to develop and get ready to become little drifters out in our ocean. They'll drift around for up to about 4 months before hopefully settling back to a sandy beach. All right. Well, I just wanted to share that with you because you can't be World Ocean Day without a live stream of some plankton. I guess it could, but yeah.
Well, if there are more films to come, hopefully there'll be more plankton involved because there are some alien creatures there. And man, they are the most important part of this food web that really flourished to make everything else supported here, from the fishes to the seabirds. It's just the base of the food web that is starting to really make things happen in our ocean waters. So thank you, Justin, for bringing that. So getting a bigger picture again to this region, we have all those habitats that support local species. But as I was saying earlier, this draws, because the food is so rich here, it draws animals from all around the Pacific Ocean to feed right here. So we have leatherback sea turtles that breed in Indonesia, and they will cross over about 8,000 miles to come here to the West Coast to eat on jellies. And then the black-footed albatross, they breed on the Northwest Hawaiian Islands, and they only come to land to breed, but the food is so good on the West Coast, they will actually leave their chick and come all the way to the West Coast here to eat, to get food to bring back to their chick within a couple weeks of time. So that is a really amazing way that we're interconnected with species in other parts of the world. We also have blue whales that come up from Costa Rica and humpback whales that come up from Mexico, and pink-footed shearwaters that come up from Chile, and sooty shearwaters up from New Zealand. So this is the place to be. A lot of people travel here to the Bay Area to eat and drink the special wine that we have in this region, but the ocean critters also travel here because the food is so good.
All right. And our national marine sanctuaries really help protect the ocean with these protections. They protect against gas and oil and mineral development. They protect the water quality. You can't put polluted water into our national marine sanctuaries. They protect wildlife from things like disturbance and entanglement. So we have a lot of regulations that are designed to protect not just the habitats, but the wildlife themselves. And also, as we learn more and more, it is just kind of like the heyday of marine exploration with so much new technology. We protect important seafloor habitat, and a lot of what is down there, we're just getting our first look at some of these areas that even close to California, just offshore, some of them we've never laid eyes on or put cameras on. So we protect these important seafloor habitats as well.
So these regulations are really important, especially in this area, and they don't exist all around the world. So to have them here in this rich ecosystem is really a testament to how people really want to help protect these waters. But we also have programs and efforts beyond our regulations that help us to learn more about the sanctuary ecosystems and habitats. So we've worked with MARE before to explore in these sanctuaries to learn more about the habitats. When a national marine sanctuary is designated, it becomes a great focal area for learning about the ocean because we have so many protections in place to reduce disturbances. And so it makes it a really great place to really study and understand what's there. It also helps us to know what we're protecting. So with the remotely operated vehicle, which you can see in that picture there, that's a big robot that goes underwater and streams video footage and allows us to take pictures of habitats that we really can't get to very easily because we're rather deep water here. Plus it's rather cold. We have big ships in the water. We also have those sharks around. So this is really one of the most efficient ways for us to learn about these underwater places. So with that information that we gain, it helps us to best protect these places. It also greatly contributes to the work Justin and I do in helping to share what is out there and helping connect people to the life that lives out there, to help develop the empathy for caring about these really special habitats and animals so that we can take more actions to further conserve the ocean waters. And so we wanted to show you a little bit of video footage from work with MARE that we did a couple years ago. And we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, and so one of our big themes today is storytelling, and Jenny and I use storytelling all the time. One of the ways we do that's communicating with stakeholders and decision makers to try to best inform those protections for our ocean and for our national marine sanctuaries. This is a picture of our Sanctuary Advisory Council for Greater Farallones. And these are amazing people that are from research or from education or resource protection or community members at large who just are connected to the ocean, love the ocean, and help us have new perspectives and help us manage our national marine sanctuaries. We also use storytelling to connect people to the habitats and the marine life in our sanctuaries. And in this case, it's Pietro, a fisherman, telling the story of his life as a commercial fisherman. And he brought one of the rockfish from his catch as a prop to share that story with those students. And also, we help people see the beauty and the abundance of life right off our coast and below the surface. This is something that the International Ocean Film Festival and MARE are huge contributors of, like, helping to share this beauty and to see what's down there. This is a recent photo taken from just this last fall of a bubblegum coral with a bunch of brittle stars crawling all over it, little white whelk towers of eggs, and just beautiful down there. And who knew that habitats like that were just offshore? We suspected, but we're getting to learn so much, and that helps us protect our sanctuaries and tell stories.
And this is fairly recent. Like, this is a picture from just last year. And so this type of research and exploration, it gets all of us really excited, especially the educators, because we have this really cool new information to share with people about what lives in these waters that are so dark and cold. So I have a little video footage for you here, just a couple clips from work with MARE. Also, we did some work with the Ocean Exploration Trust to show you. And you'll see some laser beams here from the ROV, and those help us to measure things and how to stay off the seafloor. We have a flatfish here and an octopus and lots of brittle stars. And this is the soft sediment, which is filled with life. We have a 6-gill shark here that is very camera shy. This is what usually happens when we put a camera in the water with bright lights. They tend to take off with some Metridium sea anemones there and a rockfish in the back and some rocky habitat. Moving into the depths, you see some more lasers, and this is a sea whip habitat on the soft sediments. And these sea whips are a type of soft coral that can hunker down into the soft sediment, and then they stick the rest of the body up into the water column so they can catch drifting debris, or marine snow, as we call it. And this is on Cordell Bank, that rocky reef habitat in the Cordell Bank Sanctuary that's covered with pink hydrocorals and anemones and sponges and all sorts of invertebrates that just carpet this rocky habitat. These are filter feeding organisms, so they're in the right place with all the plankton in the water that you saw from Justin's scope. That's what they're eating. And then down deeper, this is a couple thousand feet below the surface, is a type of deep sea coral and a crab. And you can see marine snow falling right there, which is part of the ecosystem. It's part of also the carbon cycle and carbon being brought to the seafloor. And then this primnoid coral and the Venus flytrap anemone. This is a strategy of these brittle stars. This is a persingid star that they'll crawl up these corals to kind of get the prime feeding zone for the drifting marine snow to come by. So we get to know these organisms and habitats. We've actually discovered species that haven't been described before in science, and we get to use this imagery in helping to tell stories.
Well, and how do we get to find all these new things? Well, only 20% of our oceans are really explored. So that leaves about 80% of our oceans that are unmapped, unobserved, that people haven't really had a chance to put cameras and lights on and see it. That's been kind of a really exciting time, as I mentioned, with all the technology and all of the amazing film videography that's happening. We're getting to kind of look below the surface and really get to know our ocean. And a new initiative that's come out this year, many of you probably have heard about it, is the 30 by 30 initiative. And the idea is it's a national goal. 30 by 30 is a national goal to conserve at least 30% of our US land and fresh water, and then 30% of our US oceans by 2030. So we're trying to protect at least 30% of the US ocean by 2030. And some of the more specific recommendations, it's still kind of broad and people are going to be doing a lot of work on this, are to try to increase access for outdoor recreation, especially for some communities that don't have a lot of access to nature. Another part of the initiative is to support the tribally led conservation and restoration priorities, which is important and a lot of people feel like is long overdue. Also to expand collaboration to conserve fish and wildlife habitats, and then also to create jobs in the restoration and climate resilience sector. So it's a pretty exciting time. And if you haven't learned about it yet, tune into this 30 by 30 initiative that's going to be a big deal moving forward to 2030.
And so all of you can be part of that 30 by 30 initiative with your storytelling initiatives, either if it's through filmmaking or other ways that you're doing some storytelling and telling the stories of the value of a healthy ocean, our interconnected relationship with it, because it is so important to our lives. There's special places that are these amazing jewels to highlight and to preserve and protect, but also other jewels need to be protected as well. So we're hoping you'll be part of that in the storytelling efforts that you're going to take on as a result of this workshop. I wanted to end here. You could type in any questions that we can answer for you, but I also want to let you know we're available by email if you have specific questions or are you looking for specific resources to contribute to your storytelling. We gave you a lightning speed flash talk on our 2 national marine sanctuaries in this area, but we'd be happy to answer further questions after the workshop today. So let's take a quick look here. We have one question about oil. I'm curious why there aren't more marine sanctuaries in the Gulf of Mexico besides the flower garden banks. It's such an important ecosystem. Yeah, so the Flower Garden Banks National Marine Sanctuary is in the Gulf of Mexico. And what's really unique about it, we have a lot of banks throughout the world. By the way, these banks are these features on the seafloor that provide a landing area for invertebrates to land on and make a habitat. And so in the Flower Gardens region in the Gulf of Mexico, those are it's the northernmost region of coral reefs. And the sanctuary was designated to help protect those reefs. And why aren't there more? This is a very complex question, and it has to do with the economics of our country and global economy. And I probably can't tap into that too much right now, but I do know that the Flower Garden Banks actually did expand this past year, and they added more than double the amount of banks that they've protected in the Gulf of Mexico. The National Marine Sanctuary Program has a nomination list, which is growing, of places that are seeking to create national marine sanctuaries. And the regulations vary for every single one. Here in the Farallones and Cordell Bank and Monterey Bay region, the stakeholders engaged in designating these sanctuaries really wanted to see no oil and gas in them to protect the waters here as much as possible, because oil gas don't mix very well with salt water and ocean life. And so that's one of the big benefits of our sanctuaries here. But it is a very community-based process, working together with the communities and stakeholders in designating these areas. So you might want to get in touch with the Flower Garden Banks Sanctuary and ask them, how come we don't have more? Let's see. How deep is the seafloor within those marine sanctuaries on the West Coast? That's a really good question. And I'll go back to a map that shows the seafloor. And right off the coast is the continental shelf, where we have just a couple hundred feet of water, and it goes back. Hold on. It goes back to over 10,000 feet in the Cordell Bank and the Greater Farallones area. So goes to about 500 feet on the edge of the continental shelf, and then can go to over 10,000 feet on the western edge. Last year, or 2019, we went to the very deepest part of the Bodega Canyon area, and it was about 14,000 feet that we were in of water and seeing deep sea coral habitats. So it gets pretty deep. The length of the continental shelf is just about 25, 26 miles, and then it dips off to the deeper water.
Great.
Are there any marine areas that still need protection going from Sonoma County down to Monterey Bay? Sorry, Justin. Okay. Actually, this whole area, including, kind of not on this map here, we have 3 contiguous national marine sanctuaries here. And that's because people along the coast, they love their ocean. And a lot of the visionaries that wanted to see this area protected helped protect this coast. So further south, actually, beyond Monterey Bay, there's a little bit of a gap, and then it goes to the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. And there actually is a proposed site that is Not sure what stage it's in, but it's being considered for becoming a new national marine sanctuary between the southern end of Monterey Bay and Channel Islands. And so far, there haven't been any proposals for north of the Farallones, up the Mendocino and Humboldt coast, but we shall see. Justin, I'm sorry I cut you off.
Great. Yeah, no, thank you so much for having us and learning a bit about how we do storytelling in national marine sanctuaries. And again, it was just a pleasure to be part of this Great World Ocean Day event. And I'm going to turn us back to our hosts.
Thank you, Jenny and Justin. That is so interesting. And I highly encourage anyone to, and everyone to check out our sanctuaries. They're amazing places full of amazing stories about our ocean and our underwater life. And I really enjoyed seeing the plankton. That was very exciting. Thank you for sharing that with us as well. I'd also like to take a minute and welcome our guests. We have people from all over the world today. In the Pacific Grove here outside of Monterey. We have friends in Barbados. We have friends in Argentina. So thank you for joining us, and please continue to submit your questions to us. So now we're going to transfer a little bit and move over to sharing a couple of films with you. And after we do that, we have two very special filmmakers who are going to share their secrets and their experience with us in storytelling, specifically about the ocean. They're joining us from Greece, so please stay tuned. You're in for a treat to hear from them, and they are wonderful filmmakers. The first film I wanted to share with you is entitled Night of the Crabs. And this was a film submitted to us by a young man who lives on the coast of Long Island in New York. And he submitted it to the International Ocean Film Festival Student Film Competition. We have a 10-year running student film competition for middle school and high school students from around the world. And this was the winning high school entry from last year. The filmmaker's name is Elias Marsour, and it's just a delightful film that tells us more about hermit crabs. And we wanted to share it with you because he was able to go into his own very backyard and to come up with a story about night crabs and just tell us a little bit more about his experience with ocean storytelling. It's a delightful film, and I hope you enjoy it.
It's nearly midnight at the beach, and people are just arriving. They're not here to swim or to fish. They're actually here for science. They're searching for a prehistoric creature, one that predates the dinosaurs. On full moons like tonight, they rise out of the oceans in the thousands, and that's when scientists take the opportunity to study them, the horseshoe crab. To understand the story behind why these citizen scientists are here, we have to go back, way back. The horseshoe crab can be found in fossil records dating back 445 million years. For reference, the T-Rex lived around 83 million years ago, meaning the horseshoe crab has it beat by hundreds of millions of years. They've survived apocalypse after apocalypse in the depths of the seas, until today. Decades ago, humans began to harvest them. We piled them up in the thousands for bait and for food, but also for something very valuable: their blood. If you've ever had a vaccine, you've likely been helped by their blood. A certain protein in horseshoe crab blood, called limulus amoebocyte lysate, or LAL, is very valuable in testing medical equipment. Here's why. Bacteria by itself can be harmful, and we have tests that can detect it. Even more, we have antibiotics that can kill it. But when it dies, a new problem arises. Bacteria that is dead releases endotoxins. These are toxins that were inside the bacteria and are released when the bacteria die. And they're very hard to detect. LAL, the extract from horseshoe crab blood, is actually very good at it. Whenever it comes into contact with endotoxins, it clots, forming a gel. It's used worldwide to test medical equipment and vaccines before they are given to humans. Nowadays, we have non-lethal harvesting techniques, where we capture, drain blood, and release. However, new science tells us that this may still kill a significant amount of crabs, even after they're released. As of now, we don't know our continued effect on their species. And so, as they have helped us, a select few noble citizens have stepped up to help them. Under the light of their headlamps, they wade into the water, waiting for horseshoe crabs to wash up. When they do, they are plucked out of the water and put on the beach. Then, they are surveyed. Size, gender, and location data are all collected. Next, they attach a tag in order to identify the crab for further research. This program generates valuable data that can help environmental officials know when, where, and how to help horseshoe crab populations. The best part is, it's carried out by average citizens and open to the public. Anyone young, old, or regardless of knowledge or training can help. These citizen scientists are doing their part to save the world. The question stands: what will you do?
Thank you, Elias. I'm so excited to have your film on display here for everyone who's joining us for our ocean storytelling program. What I like so much about that film is there are so many different elements that were included in the film, such as graphics, music, historical footage, and the narration. So they were all components that helped to create a wonderful story in 8 minutes, and was very scientific, and I learned something about crabs that I would not have known, hermit crabs that I would have never known. So a good example of one of our high school student submissions for our International Student Film Competition. Next, we're going to share with you an 8-minute film. We're going to travel to to Indonesia, and we are going to watch Fragile: Why Turtle Hatchlings Need the Sea. And this is a film that was done by our guests, Hendrik and Claudia Schmidt, who are going to join us after this film. And we thought it would be an interesting subject matter about turtle hatchlings and sea turtles, simply because everyone loves turtles, and it's a well-done film in terms of its storytelling. So without further ado, let's roll the clip.
Turtles have been around for millions of years and remain largely unevolved, so they've obviously made themselves pretty good already. Turtle hatchlings are very independent, so they never meet their mother. They literally hatch out of the sand, they make their own way to the sea, and they make their entire lives solo. Juvenile turtles, they never really come back to the reefs or shallows or anything like that. Mother turtles usually, they reach sexual maturity at between 15 to 20 years of age. When a turtle comes to the beach, they find a suitable spot, they start to dig a burrow, which takes 1 or 2 hours. They usually dig their burrows with the 2 back flippers, so it's a very slow process, but they dig them very kind of narrow and very, very deep. The deeper the burrow is, the cooler the sand is. The temperature of the sand that the mother lays the eggs in actually determines the gender of the turtles themselves. The deeper part of the burrow, where the sand is generally a little bit cooler, they usually come out as males, and then the ones that are a bit warmer, or an entire burrow that is dug a little bit shallower, will come out as females, which is kind of slowly being affected by climate change, and then also the problem with people digging up the turtles to move them to a new hatchery, or to dig up the turtles to hatch them artificially themselves. The turtle hatchlings all hatch at roughly the same time. There'll be a few stronger ones that are digging their way out of the nest, which make it a little bit easier for the rest of them. So they do it as a mass exodus altogether, because it obviously protects them from predators that they might find. Once they've got out of the burrow and they start walking down the beach, that's them actually rubbing an imprint on their tummy of the beach that they were born, so they know either exactly the beach to come back to or the area. A turtle, as soon as it's kind of hatched out of its egg, has got about 72 hours of energy left in the sac that is still attached to the turtle tummy. And they use that to dig their way out of a burrow, run all the way down the beach and swim as far out to sea as possible. They usually find a bit of flotsam, which is either an old tree's trunk. More increasingly these days it's ghost fishing nets and things like that, anything that's floating on the surface of the water, and then they'll just live underneath it. So they've got a good shelter from any seabirds or anything that can actually see them. They're very, very easy prey because they've got quite a soft shell for the first 6 months of their life. And then they spend time either catching all the little fish that live under there as well, and jellyfish and little bits of plankton, training their lungs to expand and to be able to prolong their time underwater so they can actually free dive and hunt for food and rest and relax underwater. So this is why it's really important for the first few years of their life is to be deep out at sea. Around the world there are a lot of turtle conservation groups that are hatching their own turtles or getting eggs from somewhere, hatching them themselves and keeping them in tanks. I feel that people that are running these aquariums and these turtle hatcheries with the title of turtle conservation really think that they have got the turtles' interests at heart, and that's why they're trying to do it. They think that because a baby turtle is so vulnerable when it's so small, they're actually protecting it and feeding it until it's strong enough to be released into the wild. In these first 6 months and the first year, turtles do need to spend this time free diving down, so actually being kept in a tank and not being able to forage for its own food means that its lungs aren't going to properly develop in its early stages, all the way through to the fact that they're getting fed at regular times. They are then, waiting in very, very shallow waters, expecting to be fed by the hand of man. Turtles are largely solitary animals, apart from when they do want to breed, so keeping them in such close proximity does mean that they start to bite each other, they get aggravated. You find a lot of damage to either their carapace or to their flippers and things like that, which makes them prone to infection. And as soon as one baby turtle will get an infection in a tank, it just means that every turtle is going to be getting the same infection. It's usually more due to the lack of education and awareness and maybe scientific research in that area that it's actually kind of detrimental to the turtle's health. I sadly wouldn't put their survival rates at being very high. So it's really important that turtle hatchlings in their first 72 hours of life that they can get all the way down to the sea unaided if possible and make their own way. Turtle hatchlings really don't need help in getting to the sea. They've been doing it for millions of years on their own. When you get islands that maybe 20 years ago they were largely uninhabited, not too many people, and especially no light or any noise pollution on the beach, then turtles are always going to come. But because they don't come back for the next 20 years, something might have changed. So a suitable beach for a turtle to nest in is very dark, it's very quiet. As soon as a turtle comes up onto a beach, if it hears the slightest bit of noise that it's nervous about, or it sees a light which it knows isn't the moon, it's going to turn straight back and maybe try again the next day. They are running out of places to actually walk up on the beach and be able to nest. Good turtle conservation is turning your lights off at night, making sure that there isn't too much noise, pollution, so loud music gets kept to a minimum after dark, making sure there's no obstructions on the beach. So sunbeds, sun loungers, even bits of trash is enough to be able to restrict a turtle coming onto nest, or especially baby turtles coming back down. Even at your workplace, even when you're living in a city or nowhere near the sea, you can still actually help save turtles by reducing your plastic bag consumption. They generally find their way into the oceans, and they look exactly like a jellyfish, especially to a turtle. One of the main sources in their diet is jellyfish, so they're found to ingest hundreds of plastic bags and plastic particles as well. There are ways that everybody can help turtles.
Hi. We can't hear you.
So sorry, you guys. Thank you so much for sharing your film with us, and thank you for staying up. I know it's late for you. You're joining us from Greece, and we're excited to have you here today. I do want to say a brief introduction of your background. So if you allow me to do that. We are excited to have Hendrik and Claudia join us. They are also known as the jet lag, which implies that they travel all over the world, which they do. They consider themselves ambassadors of the ocean, having made films from the polar circle to the equator. They are award-winning films with a passion for creating powerful films about the underwater world. And they've also produced inspiring 360-degree virtual reality films. As filmmakers, they consider it their personal mission to document the state of our oceans and tell the stories that need to be told about how we can protect them. And for that, we are extremely grateful. Hendrik and Claudia have also been to the film festival on several occasions to share their films, not only with our general audience, but with our free student education program, which consists of middle school and high school students coming to the festival to see these films. So without further ado, thank you so much for joining us, Hendrik and Claudia, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Anna, for having us. We're really excited and very happy to be here on World Ocean Day.
Happy World Ocean Day.
On World Ocean Day. Happy World Ocean Day. Thank you so much. So I know you guys are busy working on a film, so thank you for taking the time to talk with us. I know when you're filmmaking, you've got some very, very long days. You're in the water, you're out of the water. It's hot, I would imagine. It's summertime right now in Greece. So we're excited to have this moment with you. So thank you for taking the time. And as you know, this is an ocean storytelling workshop, and we have a lot of audience members, some who are experienced at telling ocean stories, some who are experienced filmmakers, and some who are novices. So I think the first thing I'd like to know is, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you got into filmmaking?
Yeah, of course, we can do that. I actually never did anything else. So I started filmmaking as a student in school. And from that moment on, I was hooked actually telling stories. And this is almost like 20 years ago, I started doing films. And then we started diving. And in that moment, we decided, oh, diving is a lot of fun. Let's take a camera down there. And so let's tell the story above the ocean. And I actually took her with me down there.
Yeah, I've been a media designer by training anyway, and I've always had this deep love for the ocean. And at that moment when we started to take cameras with us underwater, it kind of came all together in the place it was supposed to be. And I felt I was finally able to tell the stories I wanted to tell about the ocean and what's going on in them and how we can protect them.
Fantastic. And I should also mention that this is a husband-wife team. And I think that adds to the element of being able to do your work together and to spend a lot of time telling your stories about the ocean. Tell us about your creative process. When you get an idea of something that you want to make a film about, for example, in this one about turtle hatchlings, how do you begin your creative process? How do you begin to formalize it in your mind, how you want this to become a story that's going to be eventually made into a film?
Yeah, so most of the time it just happens. Yeah, so we travel a lot, as you mentioned, and we always come to those places where we actually find those stories, or those stories find us, especially with the turtle film. So we found this place where they actually try to grow those turtles into the age when they can go into the ocean. And we always felt that was pretty wrong. And so we were standing there and watched all the tourists taking their pictures with the little turtles, and it was so cute. And we thought, that may not work that well for the turtles. So we saw that and immediately thought, let's make a movie about that and let's show the world and the audience what's the better way of dealing with that. And then actually comes the hardest part, because then you go back to your office and then you have to start writing, like writing down your ideas and where you actually want that film to go, and which emotion or which topic you want to tell the people, and how you approach that goal. And then comes the fun part for me, which is actually traveling there and shooting the film. So this is what I love the most, is being in the field. So that means, as you mentioned, a lot of long days. And after you finish shooting a film, then comes the time of the long nights, which means you have to be in an editing studio in front of a computer and bring the film together. You always say that's where the film actually is made. And so that's what I love about filmmaking, is you have those 3 steps, which bring you all around the clock.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but usually, we often had ideas just under the shower or when we saw something. And then, of course, you take a look, well, has anybody made a film with this idea? Has anybody done it before? And then also, when you have this idea, I usually do a lot of research to get all the background information, and also, who are protagonists, researchers, scientists that could help us with the scientific foundation of the film. That's also some work that goes into the preparation before we actually start filming.
Mm-hmm. I know that one of the key things in filmmaking is the editing process. And, we've watched a lot of films at the film festival, and editing is such an important part. It can really make or break a film. And I think that's the hardest part for filmmakers, is to decide what to leave in and what to cut out, right? So you could have lots and lots and lots of footage, but only a small amount of that might actually make it into a film. Tell us about what you look for when you're doing your editing of your films, and what has that been like? Did you have a lot for this particular film? Did a lot of it end up on the cutting floor?
Actually, most of it ends up on the editing floor. So it's actually the hardest part as a storyteller or a filmmaker, is to learn to reduce your footage to what brings the story forward. And most of the time you have to kill your best babies. Yeah, so you have the manta ray flying over you, but you shake the camera in the middle a little bit, and then you find another manta ray where you didn't shake, but the light wasn't that good. So then you have to really learn how to delete those files. And it's really hard to be the filmmaker who does it all by himself. So being the camera operator and shoot those films, you're back in the editing and you remember that certain moment and you love that moment because it was such a great day, but the picture wasn't that good. So it's actually always nice to have someone like an editor with you who haven't seen the stuff before, and he just deletes it right away. It's like, it wasn't so good. But yeah, it's really hard because it's a puzzle without borders. You have all this material and all this footage, and then you start developing that story, and those stories can go actually in every direction in the end. And so that's important to know where you want your story to end. So you can like have this storyline where you always can go back to and find out if you're still on the right path.
Mm-hmm. And we have discussions about single clips. Like I'm really bad at, deleting stuff because I remember like, this happened when I filmed it. And I kind of have this emotional attachment still to that footage. So we discuss a lot about what gets deleted and what doesn't. But as Henrik said, in the end, it has to serve the story and it has to fit to the other clips. And that's in the end how we make the decision about what we leave in the film.
And sometimes I just get up late at night while she is sleeping and just delete it and hope she doesn't remember the next day.
Sometimes I get up and put them back in.
Of course you do. You're smart. You've learned, right? So as filmmakers, what happens when you don't get, especially underwater filmmaking or filmmaking, with ocean subjects? What happens if you spend all this time and you don't get the footage that you need or that you want? Do you borrow? Do you resource it? What happens if you need a piece of footage that you just don't have that will really help to make your story?
That's a good question. And it can get really frustrating because unlike filming on land where you can just place yourself with the camera and the tripod and just wait for hours and hours and hours, underwater, we only have a short time frame where we're in the underwater environment and have to film what's happening right at this time. So sometimes it happens that we just don't get the shots, or we need some additional shots that we weren't able to film ourselves. And what we usually do as a first step is we ask in our filmmaker network. So we have a couple of filmmaker friends, and they've been helpful in the past with helping us out, borrowing us the footage. And yeah, that's definitely very kind and very helpful.
But it's also part of the game because filmmaking is always a group effort. Yeah, so no one can make a film on its own. It's always a group game where everyone plays together, and so also that is definitely it's happening. I hope not that often, but sometimes we have to get some footage. Yeah, but then they end up in the credits, so everyone is happy, and the film is better. So the audience is happy.
Yes, and that's right. It's always important to give appropriate credits when you're doing a film. It's a big requirement for us in our student film competition. So we try to get, young filmmakers in the habit of giving credits. And as you saw in Elias's film, he gave a lot of credit to all the people that participated in his film, including those who were on the beach with the hermit crabs. So that's very nice. Tell us, we do have a question that I'm going to go ahead and jump to. It's on our list, but I wanted to get right to it. You are right now in Crete, in Greece, and tell us about the film that you are working on right now, if you can, because sometimes films can be very secretive about what you're doing. But tell us a little bit about what you're doing and some of the challenges that you're facing.
We are right now shooting a film about beach animals. So we're here with a film production company called Marco Polo Films, and we are the underwater camera department. So our task is it to film the beach animals that live under the surface, but we also help with filming all the beach animals that live on the beach during on land. So and that also includes humans. So it's basically lots of funny and interesting stories about beach inhabitants.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest problem about this filmmaking is actually that we have to get up at 5 in the morning, and then we work until 9 in the evening, and then we try to get some sleep and do it again. And we are right now, I think, on day 23. Look at those eyes.
That's the life of a filmmaker, right? You're on set, basically. The ocean is your set, and you know, you're there for a limited amount of time, so you spend your night and day filming, correct?
Yeah, but to be honest, the beach as a topic is not a very challenging place to work. It's actually quite comfortable, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't complain, really.
Not really.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. So you're focused on the beach now, but when you go deep into the ocean, and I know you both have been doing that a lot, how long have you been scuba diving? And you know, what are the challenges of taking a heavyweight camera underwater? How long can you actually last while you're filming without having to come back and take a break or rest? Tell us a little bit about that part of filming in the ocean per se.
I think we started scuba diving in 2008, so like more than 10 years ago. And in the beginning, we didn't really take cameras right in the beginning, because when you start scuba diving, you're just busy with yourself. You have to get the buoyancy right and just control your breathing and just be comfortable in the water. So it took a while until we said, well, okay, now we're feeling fine in the water with ourselves. Now we're bringing a camera. And the cameras got bigger. So there are, right at the moment, modern cameras are quite small, and there are small underwater housings for them. So we started with something small, easy to carry, and then it gradually got bigger and bigger. And now I have to go twice. So first I carry down the tanks and the fins and everything, and then the camera itself, because it's so heavy on its own. But the good thing is underwater, everything's weightless, and the camera, it's completely neutrally buoyant, perfectly balanced. So underwater, nothing weighs anything, but it comes back after the dive, like when the gravity kicks back in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The gravity. Yeah, and about diving, I mean, it always depends on how deep you go. So right now, actually, as we are shooting in front of the beach, our maximum depth is around 4 meters. And I actually found a spot which is 7 meters deep. That's the deepest point we got in the last 20 days. And so we can spend there actually quite a long time. So around 120 minutes, something like that, 2 hours sometimes. Mm-hmm. But if you go deeper, the time reduces. And then you have to go up and actually have a break. And but then you're just happy to jump back in as soon as possible. So we always say 4 dives a day and then a good night's sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe a beer before or after diving, right?
Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So our viewers today are very fortunate to have footage from MARE that was taken with ROV, a remote operated vehicle, and lots to choose from. And they capture so much of the ocean floor and the ecosystems. And what advice do you have for first-time filmmakers who are using this type of footage to create their own films?
Well, first of all, that is a really great opportunity you have out there to get this footage and make a film out of it. I think the most important part, if you want to make a film, you have to know that you're not doing the film for yourself. You always do a film to show it to other people, to show it to an audience, and actually to entertain them, right? Because when you're entertained, you will remember that film, and then it's a good film. But what I always say is find a topic, and then there are like certain kind of easy rules in every film to follow, which is, I can actually just tell you, it's like, where is my topic? What is my topic? What is my topic doing? Is my topic having any problems? Is there a solution? And how will my topic be in the future? And if you follow this small, easy drama, then you will make a great film. And what I would do right now with that footage, I would actually go through it and find about what I want to tell a story. So do I want to go to the deep sea and maybe just see the plastic down there, or do I want to go to shallower reefs and find the story there? Then I would take all the footage and check out which are the coolest pictures. And then I would actually bring myself into the story as well. So I would film myself. It doesn't have to be a professional camera. Take your cell phone, take your GoPro, whatever you find, and record yourself and tell the audience, why are you making this film and why are you interested in that topic? And then you take the magic spoon and add some music. And with that music, you can actually take the audience by the hand and drag them through the emotion you want them to experience. And if you do that, you will make a great movie. And there's one way to find out if your movie wasn't that good. Show it to your friends and your family. And while you show your film, they take their cell phone and do something else or start talking, you know your editing is not on the point in that moment. So go back to the editing studio and just delete some of the pictures who are too long. And then you will actually make a great movie. As we've seen this evening, a movie doesn't have to be long. 2-3 minutes is a long time in editing. It's a good time to actually tell your story and then render it out and send it to all the film festivals in the world. And maybe you will be on set at the ocean sooner as you think. Yeah.
That's great advice. I think what I heard you saying in there was to be patient, right? To have a lot of patience with yourself and with your film.
Yeah, patience and passion is the two things you definitely need as a filmmaker. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I like your comment about sharing your film with your friends and family. It's always good to get a first pass of those people that you know are going to be honest with you. And I like the magic spoon of music, because music creates that emotional connection that helps in telling your story. What can you tell us about adding narration in a film, narrating a film? Claudia, I know you've narrated many of your films, Claudia. What can you tell us about the importance or the impact and of narration?
Well, narration can be very important for a film. I wouldn't say every film needs a narration. Some films just get carried by the pictures and the music to convey the story. But obviously with narration, you can add a lot of information, a lot more than the pictures tell. And that's also the number one rule. Don't tell what's in the picture, what you can already see in the picture, but give the viewer some additional information. And that's something we do in our case, because I narrate our films ourselves. You can also give them the emotion you want them to feel, or you want to share with the viewers.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
There's actually just one rule. One rule: never tell the audience what they can see on screen. That's the rule.
Very, very important, right? Because you're seeing and you're hearing at the same time, so you should be able to see what's already on the screen. You don't need to hear it. You can hear the music, for example. We're coming up on the end of the hour here, and I can't thank you guys enough. One question that I do have that someone asked is, and I know that because I've had this conversation with filmmakers in the past, but creating a title for your film. What's your advice on that? Because sometimes the title doesn't come until after the whole film has been made, and so you just don't know what that title is going to be. Because I was going to ask you if you have one for the film that you're making now in Greece, and I'm sure you don't. But tell us a little bit about your experience with that.
Sometimes you just have the idea, and that's the title. and sometimes you don't. And then you have to start the whole thinking process, write down all the ideas. So I think the English title for this new film is going to be Beach Animals. But because it's a French-German production, we also need a French and a German title, and we still don't know what's that going to be.
But every film starts with a working title.
Yeah.
And actually the best ideas I always have under the shower. So I always shower a lot, cold, warm, and then all of a sudden it happens. It's a creative process because with the title, you're actually already telling what's going on and what will happen in a way.
Well, that is very enlightening, and I hope you have a lot of showers for a lot more inspiration for some of your amazing thank you both so much, and we've been excited. It's been exciting to have you. Thanks for staying up and for participating. We look forward to seeing your film, and best of luck on the beach, and good luck with beach animals.
Thank you so much.
That was good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And now we're going to turn it back over to Natasha Benjamin. She's going to tell us a little bit about our activism challenge. I hope everyone enjoyed our ocean storytelling workshop. I hope you learned something. I know that a lot of the resources are going to be available on the International Ocean Film Festival's website as well as on MARE's website. So thank you for being a part of today's show, and we look forward to seeing your films.
Yes, thank you, Anna. Thank you, Claudia and Henrik, for your films and for talking about a little bit about the process and some good tips on filmmaking. And so what we're doing today is offering a really unique opportunity for all of you to have access to MARE's underwater ROV footage to make your own film. We've taken some of the hard work out of this. Unlike Claudia and Henrik, who have to dive and capture their own video, we are going to provide video that MARE has already taken along the coast of California, capturing some of the unique wildlife and deep sea habitat that we see here. All of you have the chance to create your own film and tell us a story, an ocean story, using this footage. You will be able to submit your films via social media, and the top 3 videos will win prizes. So we're very excited to see what everyone comes up with. And we will be providing some guidance, or there's a resource guide that will be on MARE's website, as well as the Film Festival's website as well. Films will be 45 to 90 seconds in length, and you can tag MARE and the Film Festival and also include credits. And all of this information has more detail in the resource guide. Please don't show any faces unless you have permission from folks to do so. And the resource guide will be hosted on MARE's website as well as the Film Festival. If you have any questions, you can email Neely, our program manager, at neely@maregroup.org. The challenge ends in, I believe, 2 weeks on Tuesday, June 22nd. So everyone who signed up today and we have your email, we'll be sending you a follow-up email. If not, please reach out to us at MARE or the Film Festival. And if there are any other questions, you can add those in the comments right now. Otherwise, just want to thank everyone for joining us today and diving in with MARE and the Film Festival. We can't wait to see what you guys come up with. We will also be, you can watch this video again, or if you missed it, or tell your friends, it'll be on this YouTube link, and that will also be on the website. And that is it, unless there's any other questions, but I don't see any. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and happy World Oceans Day.